The city tried to use the shards to stake out the wilds. So much for that plan. Roathus Lagoon, even the brushers stopped going there. Didn't like being eaten. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Roathus Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. Can't get hasty in a place like this. That's ankle gator country for you. Want to get eaten by an ankle gator, you know where to go. Roathus Lagoon. That ain't the sort of place you'd want to go by choice. All kinds of beasts what don't know up from down, still lurking about. Only the city's brushers knew their way around the lagoon. These beasts, they don't like company. Even the brushers learned to fear this place. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. One of 'em's been living in the tall grass. They called her Queen Anne. The lagoon's got plenty of other dangers, of course. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. Ain't time for pecker hunting, but the kid can't resist. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? A stinkweed. Can't fight Queen Anne without the proper tools. Bad idea to walk in gator grass. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance round here. Now the kid can do the same. Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Kid's got a mean throwing arm. Most of those peckers are smart enough to stay out of Queen Anne's way. Those pin cushions been living off the ankle gator's scraps. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. He holds his ground. Seems the queen's running out of options. Still no sign of the shard. Well, the brusher's way ain't really his style. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. They say you can't hurt an ankle gator unless it's raining, and it ain't raining. Queen's got one mean bite. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Want to know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as bait. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running. The shard's sitting in plain view. She's starting to get annoyed. He's got it, and now to finish her off. And now he's made her mad. After all that, kid lets the ankle gator go. Hope Queen Anne don't mind us borrowing from her treasury. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. That gator's a crazy gal, but so is the gal who promised to look after her. Want to keep the wilds at bay, pack yourself a musket and a pike. All that trouble for a single shard, but you know what? It was worth it. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over. The inspiration, a forge can fashion anything. The city, its riches nothing but fragments now. To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark. Don't want that thing leaving your hands until you decide it's time. Takes a careful touch to rattle those bones like that. Arrows like that can practically find their own way. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. Over there's Camp Dauncy, where the brushers steeled themselves for secret missions. Point Lemaign's Grand Rail once brought the riches of the wild right to our doorstep. To prepare for the wilds, Caelandia's brushers practiced at Camp Dauncy. Had to navigate a maze of pincushions with nothing but a pike. Sometimes the course was brutal. The brushers were Caelandia's field agents, and their training was harsh. It's a dangerous test for a dangerous job. You had to find a path through the maze as quick as you could. One well-placed throw could take out several of those ugly critters. Just getting through the course in one piece was an accomplishment. You can see why the brushers prize those pikes of theirs. Gotta make sure the pointy end's fastened on real tight. The brushers, They moved in shadows, but the calamity found him. Sometimes I want to ask him, why do any of this? But truth is, I don't want to know. He's a spitting image of Slinger Jawson with that pike and them pistols. Know how Caelondia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaign. Caelondia lost many good men on the rail. Imagine if Kid never got the message there at Point Lemaign. Few places steeped in history and sweat so much as this. Point Lemaign. Normally I wouldn't care to see a kid with a pike and machete in either hand. To prep for the course, the brushers could modify their pikes however they wanted. If you did all right at Camp Dauncy, you got to go to the wilds. Kid don't always care for fancy guns and things. A bow and pike'll do just fine. You don't want to know what he did to that thing. But believe me, it works. With pike and repeater in hand, he's like a man come straight from the wilds. Can't decide between a hammer and a brusher's pike? Take both. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. But now, the greatest outpost past the city line is nothing but a freak show. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam, just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wilds in check. Point Lemaign seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. Whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaign, not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. The grand rail's all grown over with things the calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place. Lunkheads ain't known for their grace. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers coughing fungus everywhere. Only one way to cure a cough like that. Place used to be closed off, but now it's split open like a rotten vine apple. Course the grand rail's seen much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Caelondian War. It was right here that Zulf's forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole grand rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. He'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. Not much wiggle room up there near the rail. At first he thinks it's Zulf. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words Kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? Kid arrives just in time to sample Zia's famous cooking. Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. The slingers, the wilds with their calling. Sometimes a brusher's pike just ain't enough. That's what the carbine's for. A solid frame can put an extra sting in every slice. Zulf's messenger was one of his people, Wonder just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zolf told him.